Alright folks, today we're going to be talking about rotations on a graph. We're only going to look at three specific types of rotations, and that's a rotation of 90 degrees, or a right angle, 180 degrees, which is essentially a straight line, or 270 degrees. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, just to talk about the angle itself on this grid here, if we're talking about 0 degrees, okay, just like on your geometry, 0 degrees is straight left and right, and then we measure the angle counterclockwise or around to the left from there. So 90 degrees forms a an angle, okay, so that'd be straight up here at a right angle, 90 degrees, and then over here would be 180 degrees, and then keep going around one more little chunk there to 270 degrees. Okay, so essentially we've got one right angle, two right angles together makes 180, three right angles, 270. Now, when we rotate here, we're going to look at the pattern between the points, just like we did with our reflections. Okay, so I'm just going to have you focus on A and on A prime. Okay, this is a rotation of 90 degrees here. Okay, if we look at that, here's how we see the 90 degrees. Okay, it's not actually starting way over here. We're looking at this shape and rotating at 90 degrees. The way we see that in a picture and how we'll check ourselves when we graph this is by connecting point A to the origin and then the origin to A prime. And that's where the 90 degrees shows up. Okay. Same thing goes for all of the points. It's not just A. So if we connect B to the origin and then to B prime, there's a right angle there. Same thing with C to the origin and C to C prime. All of those are right angles, and that's the 90 degree rotation. Okay, you won't have to draw those physically in the picture, but it's nice to check yourself by just looking to see if you make those connections, if it is a right angle. So now what we're going to do is talk about the points. Okay, here, again, like we did before, we're going to generalize. Okay, so the first ordered pair is 2 and 1. You'll notice the numbers 2 and 1 show up in the second point, but they're switched around. And then one other thing, this second number here switched signs. Okay, so that's what this rule for a rotation 90 degrees means. Okay, they're going to switch orders, and then the second number goes negative when you switch it. Okay, now we're going to look at 180 degrees. So on this picture, it's in the same picture here, that's A double prime. Just means there's more than one transformation on the picture. Once again, we can connect the points through the origin. And remember, 180 degrees is a straight line, so we have a straight line going through here. The same thing goes from B to B prime and from C to C prime. We've got a straight line, 180 degrees rotation through all of those points there. All right, looking at the ordered pairs, again, we have the same numbers. This time, they're in the same order. It's 2, 1, 2, 1, but both of the signs just switched. So for a rotation of 180 degrees, we have the opposite of A, the opposite of B. Just switch both the signs. Lastly, we've got a rotation of 270 degrees. For that one, when we look at these connections, I'll go ahead and draw it here, A to A prime, you'll notice there's a right angle again, but it's the opposite direction. Okay, it's going clockwise here instead. That's because if we go all the way around counterclockwise, like we normally measure, that's the 270 degrees. So when you're checking this one, you're still really looking for a right angle to check it. It's just the opposite direction as normal. Alright, looking at this ordered pair, now we've got a triple prime. Again, same numbers. This time, this 2 that was in the first place switched. Okay, so when we flip these, order trades around here, so B then A, but then that first number switches signs. Okay, so we're going to practice these first few before we graph, just following these rules. Okay, what I want you to do here is just write this above the 7 is our A value, above the 15 is the B value, and for 180 degrees we want negative A, or opposite of A, and then opposite of B as well. For that we would do opposite of 7, so negative 7, and opposite of 15, negative 15. For the next one, 90 degrees look like opposite of B, comma A. Our B was 15, so that would be negative 15. Our A was 7. That last one, 270, is B, comma negative A. Okay, so B stays, which was 15, and then opposite of A would look like negative 7. All right? So with that, now we're going to do a few rotations on a graph here. You'll notice on this left-hand side we've got A prime sticks out. We just want the originals over there. And what we're going to do is just go label our points based on their ordered pairs here. Okay, so A is going 3 to the right and up 2. B is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right and 2 down. C, 2 to the right, 1 down. And finally, left 1 and down 2. Okay, so these are our originals, which means there are A, B, and then the 90 degrees is going to be the opposite of the second thing, and keep the first thing. So the opposite of our second ordered pair, or second piece in our ordered pair here, would be negative 2, and A is just 3. On the next one, the opposite of negative 2 would actually be positive 2, but then the 5 stays. Next one, opposite of negative 1 is 1, keep the 2, and then the opposite of negative 2 is 2, keep the negative 1. Alright? So before we plot these points, I want you to stop to highlight the first one. Okay, just like with our reflections and with our translations, sometimes our figures overlap, and it's going to be very difficult, especially when we have a lot of points, on figuring out how to connect these if we don't have the first shape highlighted already. Okay. Now we can go ahead and plot those other points. Negative 2, 3 is to the left 2, up 3. That's our A prime. 2, 5 is to the right 2 and up 5. 1, 2, right 1, up 2. And then D is 2 to the right and down 1. You'll notice D prime fell on C. That's okay because of that overlap. Now when we connect these, because these are kind of reoriented here, we want to pay attention to the way they were originally connected in our first picture, the pre-image. So A went to B, so we'll connect A to B in ours. Then B went to C, so we'll follow that. C goes to D. And finally, D went back to A. And there is our rotated image 90 degrees. Okay, go ahead and highlight that in a second color. And just like I showed you in the first one, just to kind of check yourself here, you're trying to look for a 90-degree angle when you connect A to A prime through the origin. Okay, so I'll draw it in on here. You don't really have to. Just trace it with your pencil. Check it. See, if you go to the origin and back, does that form a right angle? Okay, it has to. Same thing with B to B prime. If you go through the origin, you should see a right angle. C to C prime is the same. Right angle again there. And finally, D to D prime should do the same here. And there's our right angle. The next one is going to be a 180 degrees. Again, get rid of those primes on the first column there. We're going to plot our points here. Okay, so pause the video, take a minute to write down those 4 ordered pairs from the picture for me. All right, hopefully your ordered pairs match my ordered pairs. The next thing we're going to do, remember, is highlight this shape, and then we can talk about the image or the prime notation here. These originals are A, B, and our new ones, according to 180 degrees, our rule, is just the opposite of those things. Okay, so keeping the order but switching the signs. So first up, we would have opposite of 4 is -4. Opposite of 3 is -3. B prime, we're switching to -6 and then switching to +1. C prime, -3, but 0 stays the same because we can't have a -0. Same thing goes for the next one. We'll keep that 0, but then the opposite of -1 is +1. To graph those, to the left 4, down 3 for A prime, to the left 6, and up 1 for B prime. -3 is just to the left 3. And finally 0, 1 for D prime. Once again, let's follow the order. It goes A, B, C, D. So we're going to go A to B, B to C, C to D, and D goes back to A. You'll notice here our original was this kind of arrow shape pointing straight up, and then our image here, our result, was the same arrow shape pointing down. Okay, so here with a rotation, it's still going to be the same size and the same shape like our other transformations, but the orientation is going to turn around. Okay, just like with the reflection here. So now to check these ones, 180 degrees is a straight line. So you should be able to visualize a straight line from A to A prime through the origin, B to B prime through the origin, C to C prime, and D to D prime. Okay, again, I don't need you to draw those on there, but I do need you to check it to make sure that your figure is actually rotating what you want it to. Alright, next one here, 270 degrees. Okay, we've got 5 points. Pause the video, go write down your first points from the picture for me. Alright, hopefully your points match my points. We'll go ahead and highlight the original and then start taking care of that rule. Alright, so this one is 270 degrees, our last rotation type here. It says for this, we're going to go B, stays the same, but the A switches signs. Okay, so going through our points here, B stays the same, -2, but A switches signs. We can't take the opposite of 0, it's just 0. The next one, B stays the same, so 1 stays, but A switches to +3. Next one, -1 stays, -5 goes to +5. 3 stays, and then 4, and finally 4, 2. Plotting these, we'll go to the left 2, and that's our A prime. 1 to the right, and then up 3 is our B prime. C prime is to the left 1, and then up 5. 3 to the right, and up 4 is D prime. And finally, we're going 4 to the right and up 2 for E prime. Now again, this is just a clutter of points right now. To connect them, pay close attention to the order they were in originally. Okay, so it went A, B, C, D, E. Okay, it's not always alphabetical order, so do pay attention to your original picture. And that's how we'll connect them for the second one. Okay, so A goes to B, then to C, then to D, then E, and back to A. Alright, so now we can see that we have the same shape as we started out with. It's just been rotated, specifically 270 degrees. Now, we usually don't talk about angles that are larger than 180 degrees, which is why I think it's kind of nice to think about it as a 90-degree angle the opposite direction. Okay, so when I connect these A to A prime, hopefully you see that that's a 90-degree angle. It's just going around the other direction. Instead of us normally rotating this way, it actually rotated the other way to the right. Okay. Same thing goes with all the other points. You can check them visually. Okay, so B to B prime, right angle. C to C prime, right angle. D to D prime. E to E prime. Okay, so that's all I'll really do is just hover over there to make sure all of the points create the angle I want. Alright, last one on there is a 90 degree. Again, I want you to pause the video and take care of this one completely. Okay, be sure to check back that your picture looks like mine in the end. Here we are with that last rotation of 90 degrees. Okay, pause this, check out your ordered pairs and your picture, make sure it matches mine, and all those little details are on the picture. If you have any questions while you're doing homework, please come see me.